Lub Ntuj Tshiab, Under a New Sky. At first, this was a letter to my mother. Now, it is a story about us. I'm standing on a peak on the highest mountain range in the world, the Himalayas. And all I can see is you, Nia. Of course you aren't here with me on this fine April day. You are on the opposite side of the world, back home in America. This is the first time in my 20 years of life to be this far away from home, to be under this new sky. Now you aren't physically here with me, but you are mentally here in every detail I see. I can see your face in the majestic mountains. I can taste the health you brag about in the fresh, clear streams. Now I understand why you always complimented the American roads. Here, the roads are rigid and filled with rocks, pebbles, and potholes. Women are carrying heavy firewood on their backs. Kids are running around naked, and families have their wet clothes hanging outside on the clothesline to dry. I don't fit in this place. My back is not strong enough to bear this heavy firewood. My clothes are too thick to dry on the line. I don't belong under the sky. The sky is foreign to me, but I know that it is familiar to you. Now, you used to tell me the story of how we left the refugee camp in Pananikom, Thailand, how we boarded an airplane, had 2 layovers, one in Tokyo and the other in Los Angeles, and landed in Minnesota with our one-way tickets. It was in the summer of 1995, and I was 4 years old. You were 26 years old and 9 months pregnant with Gauchia. You gave birth to her shortly after we landed in St. Paul, Minnesota, making Gauchia the first person in our family to become a United States citizen. You named her Gauchia. Gauchia literally translates to new girl because we were in a new world. St. Paul became our new permanent home. As much as you detested the Whoppers at Burger King, there was no turning back for you. The 10,000 lakes did not fascinate you. The Mall of America bored you. There were no mountains or crystal clear rivers in St. Paul. July turned to December, and the snow buried the earth with icy, cold, white fluff. You said icy, cold, white fluff on earth was abnormal. I believed you. Naturally. But in 3rd grade science class, I learned that the earth is tilted at a 23.5-degree angle, which is why we have 4 seasons: spring, summer, autumn, and winter. The pattern of the seasons in Minnesota was normal, much like the snow falling from the sky in December. That was when you became abnormal, Nia. You became abnormal because you believed people should drive on the left side of the road. You became abnormal for thinking that flushing the toilet was scary. You became abnormal because you questioned why every house had a TV, why people mowed their lawn, why people showered in a bathtub with shower curtains, why we had to pay rent every month and document everything on paper. Because you kept reminding me about how odd these things were, you eventually became the outcast. You didn't fit in this place. You didn't belong under the American sky. Because you were always out of place, I was frustrated growing up with you. I kept comparing you with other mothers, questioning why you couldn't be more like them. Like, why were you so dependent on everyone? You married 3 times to 3 abusive men who didn't have large enough hearts to love your children just so you can depend on their help. Why couldn't you drive? You forced me to take driver's ed so that I can get my license at 16 in order to drive the family around. Why couldn't you speak English? I still remember visiting your psychologist when I was only in 3rd grade. Your translator was late to the appointment, so I had to translate the first part. Since I was able to comprehend a little English, you thought I knew enough to inform the psychologist that you were stressed out. In Hmong, stress means "nhua shia," which literally translates as heavy heart. I shyly and reluctantly told the psychologist with my broken English. My mom say she had very heavy heart. knowing that the sentence made no sense. At the time, I was upset at myself for not knowing the English definition for stress. Later, I became upset at you for setting me up to fail, though you didn't know that I had failed. You couldn't support me educationally, and the distance between us grew wider. I worked hard to achieve academic success in school. 3rd grade left and 12th grade came in 2009. It was senior year and I was at the apex of my academic game. I surged into the top 10 percentile of my class and earned myself a 6-year full-ride Gates Millennium Scholarship to any college in the United States. I remember that spring night in May. We sat in front of Mrs. Lynch for a parent-teacher conference at Johnson High School. I found myself translating again. At one point during the conference, Mrs. Lynch said, "Kia is a phenomenal student. She is very studious and polite. Many people adore her. She never misbehaves and she completes all of her assignments on time." She commented, "Kia is a great person and it was wonderful having her in class." She ended by saying that, "You should be proud that Kia is your daughter." I nodded and smiled at Mrs. Lynch's compliments. Then I turned towards you, Nia, and looked at your numb, blank, stolid face that was unable to recognize the huge vocabulary Mrs. Lynch used. My lips went numb. Suddenly my face burned red. I became shy, ashamed. How in the world was I supposed to translate to you all of these great things about me? How was I supposed to brag about myself like this in front of you? I couldn't find the courage to tell you these things. Plus, culturally, you've taught me to not be so vain about myself. 3 seconds passed by as I lowered my head and looked at my shoes and condensed all of Mrs. Lynch's words into 6 simple Hmong words. Nu hai tia, gu king heng. She said that I'm really smart. And again, I blamed you for not understanding English in the first place. If you knew English, then I would not even have to fight with myself like this. I became more frustrated when you couldn't understand why I wanted to go to college an hour and a half away from home. You wanted me to stay home, to stay close to you. Hmong sons could venture the world, but Hmong daughters were forbidden to leave the home. You know me, Nia, and you know how much I detested these Hmong gender restrictions. I defied you and went away. I thought distancing me from you was the solution. But Nia, the further I go away from you, the closer you become. You have no idea how much this distance has changed how I see you. All my life, I've only seen you as the Hmong woman under the sunlight of my sky in America. I've only seen an unstable woman who cannot fend for herself. With blindfolds over your eyes and hopes under your breath, you left the refugee camps of Thailand and came to America, a country where the American dream is far from your reach. Yet, Nia, it never occurred to me that you were a professional fire starter, banana tree chopper, firewood carrier, rice field cutter, and hand laundry washer. You left your bamboo hut to come to a 4-walled concrete building. Naturally, you would be unstable in America. Naturally, you would lose that talented, strong woman you were to the alien world of America. Today, on this high mountain range, your voice plays like music at the back of my mind. I brought all of you to America so that you can see opportunities and possibilities and not have to suffer from poverty like me. The greatest thing that you've given me and my brothers and sisters is an escape route away from war in the refugee camps in Thailand. You gave us the world. I wish you were standing on this Himalaya mountain next to me, Nia. It is such a beautiful view.